But like I'd say, and I'm sure you'd agree. Aside from accents, the locations where we were raised had a lot of impact on our particular interests in weather
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
because obviously Texas Panhandle, thunderstorms, tornadoes. Um, but you're a bit because you do have that mix, right, of Philly and
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got everything. Philly, I got a little bit of winter weather, every once in a blue moon. It was rare that I'd go up in the winter. So, and regardless, my passion doesn't really lie in winter weather forecasting. It just doesn't excite me as much as storms do. But Jacksonville and tropical stuff, oh heck yeah. That's where that all came from.
would you think of this year's, speaking of tropical stuff, would you think of this year's um, hurricane season?
I'm gonna try not to sound like an asshole here. I told everybody I knew at the beginning of the season, it is La Nina. Do not expect a super active season. I don't care what the forecast says. I've seen this enough times. And guess what? It was an average to I'd even wager below average
It
season.
was below average, I think.
Now there was, the destructive storms in southern Florida and whatnot. I'm not saying that didn't happen, but I'm saying by the sheer number of storms that they were predicting, I never quite sat right with me. But hey, they're the experts. They project what they do. I'm not saying like don't trust them. I just have my own personal view on it where I didn't quite fully agree with it. I will say, man, that hurricane that came across the southwest coast of Florida, man, that thing was. Whew.
So my thinking on it was because it had a really late start, right? Like we didn't get a significant major hurricane until
Yeah, I guess it was kind of
how
later.
but also I don't know. I still wonder. I don't have any
Let's see
proof
what the
of
date of that
this.
hurricane was.
Have they done their?
I don't know if they've done the renounce. I just want to look at the dates of exactly.
I just was wondering if they've done their recap yet or not.
That's a good question. Okay, yeah, September to October was Hurricane Ian, which is kind of right in the peak of the season overall. So I'm not too surprised there. Um, but I do think, if I remember, there wasn't. Trying to remember the season in general.
So here was the 2022 track
Mhm.
or track list. Um, Also,
Yeah,
hang on.
we only got through Nicole last year. How about that?
I finally got a hurricane name, and they spelled
Finally.
it wrong. It's only
Oh,
one
that's
L.
right. They did.
I
They
was
did.
so
See, my luck with
annoyed.
getting a name would have to require a super active season. And see,
Dude, I
here's the
mean,
other thing.
we started getting into the Greek letters last time.
We did, and if you look at this year, it regressed back to the mean. We only got through N, and if you look at the amount of what actually constitutes like an official storm, there were what is that 14, 17 storms last year, and of those there were one, two, three, four, five, six, seven hurricanes. So less than half were hurricanes. There were three tropical storms, one post tropical storm, which sure, and then two tropical depressions. So overall, it was a pretty season.
And it is a little bizarre too, and I'm not judging them. Obviously, it takes a ton of time to crunch data and stuff on it, but apparently I don't know when this was posted, but apparently they've only done post storm analysis on Alex and me.
Yeah,
They haven't.
it tends to come out. I think closer to the actual start of hurricane season. It takes them a while to do it, which I get, especially for Ian this year. The post analysis on that is going to take a while.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But Ian was really the only bad. Well, Fiona too. Fiona was pretty bad as well. I forgot about Fiona.
It doesn't say when this.
Now, luckily, Fiona missed the greater U.S., but I had to deal with that on my shifts. It came on shore as a post-tropical cyclone um, into Nova Scotia and brought some pretty gnarly winds with it. Man, that was a rough day to be on the forecast.
I'm sure, man. Still haven't had any brown ocean effects yet. I mean, in my living memory.
Mm.
Um, for those who don't know, the brown ocean effect. I want to say it was two. Well, let's check. 2004? No, that was Bonnie. 2000. Okay. Should be the B. And Brett 6? Nope, that's. Well, okay. My.
I mean, you maybe with the storms that went into Louisiana 2 years ago, they kind of kept a decent amount of their strength pretty far inland for the most part.
Bill! 2008. So the thing with Bill, um, what was interesting was brown ocean effect. It essentially re-strengthened because of a lot of surface moisture and soil moisture was a big part of it. We did a project on it in Basara's class, but obviously I don't want any big scary hurricanes or any sort of destructive thing like that. But I would really like to see the brown ocean effect in.
It's certainly wild because typically we think of hurricanes as being drawing their moisture from the ocean, but when it comes from the surface like that on land, it almost is a mesoscale accident in a way.
Mhm.
I mean, that shouldn't happen with just the way hurricanes function.
I think so. We've had a pretty significant La Nina pattern. Do you think by next hurricane season will be? Obviously, there's no way of telling that's far out for sure. But do you think we'll trend maybe warm enough to get
Yeah,
a solid El Nino?
climatology models. I don't know if we get quite to El Nino, but I do think we at least get to a very weak La Nina. Or even neutral. It seems like La Nina's hold on the pattern is greatly weakening going forward. At least the last time I saw, I haven't seen anything super recently about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all signs were pointing to La Nina
The
starting to
last,
taper off.
the last I had seen, and this was a week or two ago, it was expected to be neutral by March,
Okay,
by
and you know
early
what else
March.
that bodes well for?
Oh yeah, yeah. I already,
Made the
yeah.
planes.
But my thinking is, if we're neutral by March, we might could get to El Nino. Or wait, yes. I always have to double check. I don't. I get my terms mixed up. Anyway, I think we could be in a solid El Nino by hurricane season.
Yeah, by
If we
hurricane
truly
season.
are neutral by March.
Yeah, and I think that would favor a slightly more active pattern depending on the strength
Mm-hmm.
of the El Nino. But yeah, it's certainly a possibility.
I mean, obviously, there's not. But
Long range climatology is not really my area of expertise, so I'm not
well, it's
incredibly
also
well versed in
just
it. But
it's also just incredibly. It's so finicky. Like
it is. It could start going one way and then dive back the other.
typically, I think it's typically cyclical. That's why it's an oscillation. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect a 3 year El Nino, but a year to maybe a year and a half, maybe even 2 years is quite possible with the length of this La Nina. The atmosphere and the oceans strive to have balance. So if you go too far one way, it's going to react just as strongly in the opposite direction. So
Yeah, I think I don't know. we'll see. I, I obviously again I don't want a bunch of um, dangerous storms or anything, but it would be very interesting to keep an eye on this next hurricane season.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what the CSU forecast is when it comes out. That should come out. Usually comes out in May, I think.
May or June, I think. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
somewhere because the official start of hurricane season is June 1st, but you typically last few years you've gotten some pretty early systems, but it's not overly common to get them.
Except last year. Man, last year was just weird.
It's super weird. You had, yeah, I mean, you had cold core cyclones, and yeah, it was something else.